Timble Beck was a waterway on the eastern edge of Leeds city centre. It provided valuable water to the industries of the district of Steander and marked the start of an area of rising ground to the east of it called the Bank. Oddly, it doesn't flow here anymore. These two original bridge panels on an island in the road stand roughly where a bridge over Timble Beck used to be, but no water flows below them anymore. So where has it gone? Timble Beck flowed from the railway viaduct at York Street towards Crown Point Bridge, but as it neared the Calls it headed east and then south through Steander and on towards Ferns Island and out into the River Aire under Bank Mills. Further upstream, as it passed through Mabgate and past Quarry Hill, it was known as Lady Beck. Before that, Carr Beck, then Meanwood Beck and Adel Beck. In fact, the outflow of the lakes of Golden Acre Park is an early section of this watercourse. As the Beck followed its course from the edges of North Leeds to the Aire during the industrial period, it provided water to industries such as the shoe works and tanneries at Sheepscar. It was also where dirty water and sewage were returned, so by the time it reached Mabgate and Quarry Hill it was filthy, and from time to time it was responsible for outbreaks of cholera and typhoid. The council's solution to the insanitary issues of the becks in Leeds was to cover them over. Here you can see the beck being covered over at what is now the city bus station. The covering of the becks began in the early 1900s. By this time, the channel of the beck had already been replaced with cobbles and concrete so that it flowed quickly as it passed through the edge of the city centre. Covering the stretch to the east of Kergate Market, known as Lady Beck, continued through to the 1930s as Quarry Hill flats were being built. People living and working on the eastern edge of the city centre soon became unaware that the beck continued to flow under their feet. It is still there today, flowing under the roundabout at the end of Eastgate, and even used to flow under Millgarth Police Station as it headed towards the railway viaduct. This photograph shows what a big undertaking it was to culvert the beck as it ran through the city. During the building of the railway viaduct in the 1860s, the beck had been bridged. The bridge was now being covered over so that Lady Beck was no longer visible on this side of the viaduct. The stretch of the beck known as Timble Beck, which began on the other side of the viaduct, remained uncovered for much longer, although, as the roads in the area were altered and widened, larger bridges were needed and more sections were covered over. Timble Beck flowed through an industrial district of the city called Steander, winding its way around the mills and an iron foundry, as these photographs show. You can see that at times there was a great deal of water flowing along the beck. You may have also noticed that a great deal of other refuse and debris was thrown into the water channel. Several buildings straddled the beck, but fewer and fewer of them made use of the beck, except for drainage. As industrial decline affected the area, the beck suffered further neglect and became even more of an eyesore. One by one, the terraced houses, factories and mills were taken down, and the area completely changed. Recently, this area of the city centre has taken on a new lease of life, with riverside mills being converted into attractive apartments. New residential blocks have been introduced, and the river is becoming a useful feature once again, this time for recreation. But where has Timble Beck gone? This aerial photograph from around the turn of the century shows little sign of Timble Beck, which used to be here. The final section of Timble Beck connected with the river here at Bank Mills, passing under it as it joined the Aire. The confluence can be seen on the right hand side of the picture. The channel is quite silted up and grasses are growing in it as it joins the river. Take a look today and you will find there is no longer an outflow here. A new building has been added in its place, joining on to the historic Bank Mills buildings, now called Robert's Wharf. A new wall has also been installed on the riverbank. In fact, the Beck now takes a new underground course, no longer passing through the Steander district at all. You would be forgiven for not realising the Beck had ever flowed out here. This map shows the old route of Timble Beck alongside the new route. The old route was much longer and joined the river further along its course at Bank Mills. The new route follows the old course for a while, but then takes a shortcut to a new outflow further upstream. I am going to follow its course as it passes underground towards the river. At the railway viaduct on York Street there are few clues of the hidden Lady Beck flowing beneath. The embankment is shrouded in trees, which further obscures the view. Looking more closely, near to the viaduct, some of the concrete cover is visible and inspection shafts can be seen. I suspect it will be possible to access the Beck for maintenance at this point. Nothing is visible on the Timble Beck side of the viaduct, but the gravestones from displaced graves cover the Beck's route. The covered Beck heads off in this direction towards Crown Point Bridge. The scenery has changed from the industrial buildings of the past to new hotels and apartments. The Beck is following its old route at this point. Here the Beck would turn east and head under a bridge on Garden Street and on through Steander. However, instead it now heads underground in a southeasterly direction under East Street in a new channel close to where an old mill race used to run. A mill race is a channel of water that has been redirected to power a mill. Soon the channel turns and runs below the car park of these new flats. Residents I spoke to were unaware of the culverted Beck travelling below their feet. You can see the direction of the Beck from this side of the car park. The Beck now has a new outlet, further upstream than in the past, closer to Crown Point Bridge. It is visible just across from Leeds Armouries Museum. This was originally Ferns Island, cut off from the riverbank but connected now. This is the first time the Beck has seen daylight for over a kilometre. In fact, you must go all the way back to Mabgate to see the Beck above ground. Here at Hope Road in Mabgate you can see the way the Beck used to follow its course in bricked-in channels. A narrow channel in the middle and room for when the volume of water is higher. The Beck disappears for the last time here, and it is only when it reaches the river that it will be seen again. It's amazing what's going on below your feet. Next time you are in this part of the city centre, spare a thought for Lady Beck and Timble Beck, important for so long and now almost forgotten.